Okay, I heard this concept years ago that I absolutely love because it is either inspiring or it kicks you in the gut. So I interviewed Ed Milet on the podcast back in probably 2019, and he told me this idea. He says, I think at the end of our life, when we pass on to whatever comes next, we get to meet the version of ourselves we could have become. He's like, I think that when you pass over, you get to meet the version of yourself that is the best version of you. The one who leaned in, the one who stood back up when they got knocked down, the one who walked in faith, the one who worked hard, the one who learned from their failures, the one that tried stuff, that took risk, that loved well and lived well. I think we get to meet that version. Ed says, you're in heaven if you meet that version and you are that version. He says, you're in hell if you meet that version and you're not like them at all. Because in that scenario, it means that you wasted this incredible potential that you have in your heart. Have you thought about the concept of future you, of the person that you want to be 10 years from now? Because I think if you aim at nothing, you'll hit nothing every single time. But if you give yourself breadcrumbs, if you give yourself a carrot, if you give yourself somewhere to head, you can accomplish amazing things. One of my favorite concepts is this concept of future self. How do you build this version of you and how do you get closer to her? I thought today I would share all the things that I know about future self and how I think through that process, and then 3 things your future self is begging you to do. On the most simple and basic level, this is you using your imagination to think about what is possible for your life. This is you fantasizing about what a better life on your terms looks like. So if you ever went to Rise Conference with me, then I used to always do this practice where we would do a guided meditation. We would start with a gratitude practice because we're always able to dream bigger if you're in an abundant state, and a gratitude practice really helps with that. So we'd start with a gratitude practice and then we just use our imagination. So I'd say, okay, think of some things that you would really love to have inside of your life right now. Maybe it's more resources with your finances, maybe it's a nicer home, maybe it's your kids get to go to a nicer school, maybe you have a better job, maybe you have more friends, maybe you got to write a book, maybe you have your own podcast, maybe you started a nonprofit, or you went back to school, or you got promoted, or you became a teacher. The point of this exercise is that it's what feels exciting to you. Not to me, not to your sister, not even to your spouse, but to you personally. What would feel like a big deal if these things started to happen? Once you start to accumulate ideas, and I think that all of us have ideas about what would be better, even if it's as simple as like, oh, I'd really love to get to go to a lunch at a restaurant like that, or I'd really love to have friendships that look like this, or I'd really love to be able to afford to shop in that store. It doesn't matter what it is. I can't stress this enough. It just matters that you have some ideas that feel good to you. And then we build on those. So we go, okay, well, I'd really like to get promoted at work because that would mean X number of dollars a year. And that would mean these few things happened to me because I got promoted and I got a raise. Now we expand on it. Multiply that by 10 years. So 10 years from now, I'd be this old. 10 years, my kids would be this old if you have kids. 10 years from now, I hope to be married. 10 years from now, I hope to be living in Paris. 10 years from now, I'd love to own my own home. 10 years, 10 years, 10 years. Sometimes the idea of 10 years stresses people out because it feels too far out. And I always say, if it feels too far out to you, bring it in a little closer. Go 5 years or 6 months. Doesn't really matter what the time frame is. It just matters that you have some vision of where you want to go. And it's important to note, I have been using this method since I was a little girl, seriously. Since I was a teenager, and I imagine what it would be like to move out of my hometown in Bakersfield and move to LA and get a cool job and work in a cool office. I just used my imagination. I would like daydream and fantasize, and I would sort of fill in all of these details. I would get details from like reading Us Weekly or watching E or watching Bravo. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that was the only vision. We didn't have Pinterest and we didn't have social media, so that was the only vision I had of what it might look like to live in LA. And I would just think about it all the time. But because I thought about it all the time, I had a direction to head. I knew very early on that I wanted to live in LA. LA was the big city that was about 2 hours away from my hometown. So it felt like, okay, I might be able to accomplish this. But I had a vision of where I wanted to go based on my imagination. And then when I got to LA, the vision changed. And then when that vision changed, something else shifted. It's not about walking the exact path. It's not even about the finish line. It's about you beginning to move in a direction that takes you somewhere. My dreams and hopes for my life have changed and shifted as I have grown and evolved. My biggest dream when I was 18 years old was moving to LA and then marrying Matt Damon. That was no joke, 100% the biggest dream that I had for my life. So I cannot stress to you enough that things have changed a lot since I was 18 years old. But having that vision, it at least got me out of my hometown. It at least got me to my first job. And then once I had my first job, I started to dream some new dreams. So don't stress yourself out with having to know exactly where it is you are going, but have some idea of what the destination is. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, I would love it if you would tell our community, what's the dream? Do you have the courage to call your shot? And I know not everybody does, but it would be so helpful and inspiring to other people if you were like, hey, 10 years from now, I hope this, and this have happened to me. And that's why I'm watching this video. We'd love to hear. Once you have some concept of what it is you want to do with your life, you have to understand something about belief. What you believe to be true about yourself indicates the action you will take in your life. The action that you take in your life is what will give you the results that you get or that you are currently getting. And then those results will reinforce the belief you have about yourself. So the very first time that I saw anyone talk about this was so long ago. There's an old video of Tony Robbins explaining this concept. It's gotta be back in the 90s. Like based on his outfit and his hair and the quality of the video, I'm guessing it's like 90s or 2000s. And the way Tony describes it is in these 4 quadrant boxes. So the first box is your potential.
I put that in this first box at the top here on the left side. It's potential. Like, what's the potential of a human being?
The belief you have about what is possible for you and your life. Whatever you believe about yourself and your life gives you the courage to take action, or in a lot of people's case, not take action at all. Based on the action you take or don't take, you get results. If you believe that it is possible for you to get your first client in this service-based business that you just started, then you take an action. You're like, all right, well, I'm going to send an email to everybody I know and say that I've just started my company and that I'm looking for clients. You'll take an action. And maybe that's on Monday. And then on Tuesday, you're like, well, I'm going to go to this meet and greet for people in my industry, and maybe there's a client that I can find there. You will continue to take action based on your belief about yourself and what is possible for you. And then that action gives you results. Let's say that you send an email out. I'm literally just telling you the story of how I started my first service-based business as a wedding planner.
Did you know that she was an event planner at some point?
Shut up. This is his favorite joke. I sent an email out to everybody I knew, and I said, hey, I'm starting this wedding planning business.
Wow. Really?
And then based on that email to like 100 people, one person wrote me back and said, hey, I've got a job you can do. I had a belief about my potential. I took some action, and that action gave me the result. And when I got the results out of that action, it immediately reinforced like, okay, I'm onto something. I do have potential. There is a possibility for me here. Let's look at the opposite. If you have a dream of starting your own business, but your belief is nobody would hire me, I'm not smart enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not well connected, there's no way that I can do this. If you have that belief about your potential, what action are you going to take? Goose egg, nothing. You're probably not going to do anything, or maybe you're going to get together with your friends, and you're going to talk about it, you're going to dream about it. you're going to do nothing, and then 40 years from now, you're going to complain about what could have been, or you're going to feel shame because you know that there was potential untapped in you and you didn't lean into it. Whatever you believe about yourself and your potential is the foundation for the action you will take. The action you will take is what will give you results, and those results will reinforce the loop. I start with that concept today because I want you to understand that every single day, whether we're calling it our potential or we're calling it our story, you are writing a narrative. You are building a movie of who you think you are. Every single day, you are living into the beliefs that you have about yourself, and then you take action based on those beliefs. So the obvious question is, what do you do if that negative self-talk is telling you you have no potential, you'll never achieve it, nobody in your family goes to college, like no way you can do this? Let's pretend we're talking about someone else's life who wants the thing that you want. Let's pretend that it's a character in a movie. Okay, it's not you. This is not you. This is your best friend or your cousin or someone that you follow on Instagram who has the life that you want to have. I want you to ask what the next right move, what the next right action they would take based on their potential, not yours. I know that sounds kind of twisted, but sometimes we need to model other people's behavior. We need to use them as our guide. It gives us courage to take action that we are not capable of. But you know what? If Sarah was in this position, or Carla was in this position, or Sophie was in this position, this is what she would do. Obviously, I would never do it, but do I have the courage today to take action aligned with what I think Rachel would do in this exact scenario? So now that we've talked about this idea of the story you tell yourself, the belief that you have about who you are, let's talk about 3 things future you wishes you would start doing. I think that we are all the versions of ourselves we've ever been. I think you and I can both agree that if you've ever lived through something hard in your past, you can be triggered in your present by something that happened in your past. Why? Because that version of you still lives inside of you. So if that version of me still lives inside of me, that isn't it possible that the future version of me is also present somehow too? Okay, maybe that's a little too woo-woo for you, but I love this idea. I find this idea really inspiring and super motivational to move me closer to my goals, and it gives me courage to take action because I feel like I have the best possible mentor for my life right now is me 40 years from now. Because 40 years from now, you think 82-year-old Rach is going to give a crap what people think about her? You think she's going to care about, perimenopausal belly fat? Like, no way, man. 82-year-old me is vibing. She's like living the best life. I hope she's like playing with grandkids, surrounded by dogs, living on a ranch, but also still traveling the world, still fabulous. See, I have a very clear vision of her. Here's the 3 things that I think she would tell you, or that your future self would tell you. The very first and most important thing is quit breaking promises that you make to yourself. Who you are is a choice you make every single day. The actions that you take day in, day out are what reinforce your belief about who you are. So when you take action that is misaligned with who you believe you are or who you are trying to become, it reinforces that you're not that person. It creates cognitive dissonance between the person that you want to be and the person that you are, which reinforces the idea that you're never going to be that girl. So every single promise that we make, we have to keep. Every single promise. If you go to the gym and you're like, okay, I'm going to do, I literally did this morning. I was doing bicep curls and I got 15 pounds because I worked up to 15 pounds and I started doing it. And on my second round, about 8 bicep curls in, I was like, oh my God, my arms hurt so bad. Like, I need to go down in weight. There's only 2 more curls. Like, you've already done really good work today. But if I quit, then I'm a quitter. If I quit on this little tiny thing, I reinforce to myself that anytime it gets uncomfortable, I'm just not going to finish. And it seems so small because you're like, it's just bicep curls in the gym. It's not, bro. It's every single decision you make reinforces who you think you are. You can either finish what you start. You can either say, you know what, I said I was going to do this, and I'm going to do this even if it takes me longer, even if I have to take a break for a minute and come back and finish these two. No matter what it is, I'm going to keep my word to myself. You can do that. You can push through, which PS is the best thing to do. Or you can slow down your yeses. Meaning, if you're going to commit to something, take a beat. Make sure this is the right thing to commit to. Make sure it's stretching you a little bit, but not too impossible. Because if you keep saying, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m., I'm going to blah, 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 and you keep not doing the thing, you are talking out of your butt. And your subconscious doesn't believe a word you say. Stop breaking promises you make to yourself. Slow down what you're going to commit to. Take on one new great habit at a time. One, just one. The promise is future you. Second thing, that your future self is like, dude, girl, do this thing. Your future self wants you to start dressing like her. Seems ridiculous. Seems vapid. Seems like it makes no sense. But hear me out. Every single thing that you're going to find about manifesting and law of attraction and where focus goes, energy flows, every single thing you're going to find talks about this concept of embodying the person that you want to become long before you ever actually get to them. Like, how do you act as if you are already the CEO? How do you act as if you are already the world's most amazing parent? How do you act as if you are already an RN? How do they act? How do you act? What do they eat? What do they wear? Do they have their nails done? Do they have their hair done? Maybe they don't. Maybe you want to be the lead singer of a alt rock band. I don't know. It doesn't matter what the dream is. It matters that you know what the dream is. And that when you envision someone who's living out that lifestyle, you have a character in mind. The way that you dress and the style that you have is a signal to the world about who you are. And when you show up to signal to the world who you are, that takes some courage. The concept of a uniform that you wear over and over, first of all, makes it way easier to get dressed. Secondly, you know it's going to make you feel great. And third, you're starting to embody. Doesn't have to be clothes, guys. It just has to be you acting as that person. But I don't know anything that reinforces our self-belief more than showing up aesthetically like who we want to be. Third thing that future you really wants you to start doing, dreaming at her level, not your own. Think about it for a second, guys. Future you knows all of the amazing things that are going to happen that you can't even fathom yet. She's like, oh yeah, in 2027, she does this. In 2029, she does this, and she makes this move, and then this happens, and then this explodes, and then this thing over here, and then she meets the most amazing partner, and they do this amazing thing in 2030. Like, future you knows all the things. So future you is at a whole different level, at a whole different stratosphere. So if you asked future you, if you asked you at 60, or you at 70, or you at 30, if you asked that version of you to dream about her future, she's dreaming so much bigger than you can imagine because she's at a different foundation, right? Her floor is so much higher than your floor, which means her ceiling is so much higher than your ceiling. So stop dreaming at your level and start dreaming at hers. Do a gratitude meditation, do a visualization. In fact, we've got a podcast episode. We'll link it in the description, or we'll link it in show notes if you guys want to do a guided meditation with me. So we'll start with gratitude, and then we'll visualize future self. 10 years from now, we'll do the whole thing. And then you push yourself to go bigger. You push yourself to imagine something crazy. You push yourself to go like, okay, well, what would be a bigger version of that? If that feels hard, talk to the most ambitious, positive, optimistic person you know, and be like, will you help me brainstorm this? Because borrowing someone else's belief, or at the very least, borrowing someone else's vision of what is possible, totally permissible here. Like, we are doing whatever we can do to help give ourselves a guidepost. My other favorite hack for this is something I call, what would Beyonce do? If you're not sure the level future you would dream at, pretend that you're like, it's Oprah, it's Beyonce, it's whoever you admire in the space that you want to occupy, what would they do? What would they be dreaming about? What are the choices they're making at their level? I'm not saying you have to follow that exact path, but it can give you some ideas about what you could do today that would get you closer to your goals. I hope the big takeaway from all of this is aligned action, is that you have a goal in mind, you have a finish line in mind, and you are taking aligned action. You are making the next right choice to get you closer to that version of yourself. I think we often imagine that changing our life is going to be this massive, like, lightning bolt moment, and all of a sudden every choice we make is totally different. That's not my experience. My experience is that it is 100 daily decisions that you make that get you closer to who you want to be. And the beautiful thing about that process is that you are going to have to choose those things today, and you're going to have to choose those things tomorrow. But the more you choose those things, the easier it becomes. The more you choose those things, the more ingrained they get in who you are. So you no longer have to go, okay, I got to finish my rep, because now it's just in you. You are the person who always finishes their reps. And once you get to that place, you have a new belief, and you get to take new action, and you get to take new results, and the bubble gets higher and higher and higher and gets you closer to who you want to become. I hope that this conversation was helpful, guys. I hope if you have any questions, you will leave them in the comments below. And I hope that if you loved it or you got something out of it, you will consider sharing it with someone at your office, in your community, at school that you think would find it helpful too. We will be back soon with more conversation. But until then, as always, I love you and I'm rooting for you.